archaeological explorations hold the key to our historical treasures and go on to unlock the mysteries of civilizations that have shaped the course of human history. The Indus Valley Civilization, which thrived around 3300 to 1300 BCE, is one such enigma that has captured the imaginations of scholars and enthusiasts alike. At the heart of our discussion today lies Rakhigarhi, an archaeological treasure trove located in the modern-day state of Haryana, India. What sets Rakhigarhi apart is not only its historical significance, but also the groundbreaking discoveries made through archaeogenetic research that provide unprecedented insights into the lives of our ancient forebears. Dr. Vasant Kumar Shinde. Dr. Vasant Shinde, our expert speaker, is an embodiment of the spirit of exploration, inquiry, and discovery. His work at sites like Rakhigarhi, a key focus of our discussion today, has yielded groundbreaking insights that bridge the gaps between the past and the present.
There were a number of skeletal remains found in the street of Mohenjo-daro, and Mortimer Wheeler suggested that these are the people who are the indigenous Dravidian people, and they were killed by the invading Aryans. So this is the evidence that he put forth, but this is really not correct, because subsequently these skeletal remains were scientifically studied by one physical anthropologist, Kenneth Kennedy from USA, and his studies revealed that there were no injury marks on the body of these people, and his hypothesis was that perhaps these people died either because of suffocation or due to some pandemic. So here, in fact, he demolishes the hypothesis put forth by Sir Mortimer Wheeler that the Aryans came from outside and they destroyed the local people, which he called as the Dravidian people. Our DNA research clearly indicates that there is no division like this at any stage in Indian subcontinent. Now, Indian history goes back to almost 2 million years. The research carried out in different parts clearly indicates that that beginning of the Lower Paleolithic is now going back to 20 lakhs, 2 million. So from 20 lakhs, there is a continuous development, up to the end of the Stone Age period, up to almost 10,000 BCE. And then, of course, we find the formation of the food producing era, that is the Neolithic phase in Indian subcontinent around 7,000 BCE. And the earliest evidence of this comes from the site of Mehergarh, which is in Pakistan now. And then, of course, there are different developmental stages of this particular, early developments. So from early food producing, we find the formation of the early Harappan cultures between 5000 and 2600 BCE in different parts of Southeast Asia. Then, of course, we find the roots of the Harappan culture, then the development of the Harappan culture from culture to civilization. Then there is around 1900 BC, there is a decline of the culture, which continues up to 1300 BC. After that, of course, then there are different cultural phases like painted graveware, NDP, early strike, etc. So this is the overall cultural sequence. Most of the people thought that the food producing started in West Asia somewhere, Near East rather. And from Near East, it started dispersing in different parts of the world. And one stream of that came to Indian subcontinent. That was the hypothesis put forth by many earlier scholars. But now we have data from different parts of the world. In fact, now we have data from South Asia. Also, we have data from Mesopotamia, from Egypt, and also from China. And now it is becoming clear that at most of the regions. The development of agriculture began more or less simultaneously. And then, of course, these people started developing contact with each other. So right from the beginning of settled life, we find the trading contacts with different regions. But at the same time, it is becoming clear that in each region, in India, maybe Mesopotamia, West Asia, China, these developments were happening independently. So this was done by the indigenous people. That is becoming clear. And we have some archaeological evidence for that also. Now here you can see that in the northwest part of the Indian subcontinent, the early Harappan culture flourished. They developed into mature Harappan or the Harappan civilization. And these people, they had developed contacts with not only with hinterland India, they had contact with all over the Indian subcontinent, but also beyond Indian subcontinent. So they had contact with Oman, with Bahrain, with Persian Gulf, with Mesopotamia, and also beyond. So that was happening, continuously right from the beginning of settled life. And we have strong archaeological evidence in this respect. We started the work at the site of Rakhigarhi in 2011, 10-11. And first few years, we spent, in understanding the total area of the site, how big the site is. And for 2-3 years, we work on that. We use the latest geophysical instruments for understanding this. And at the end of our study, we could notice that this site is almost double the size of Mohenjo-daro, supposed to be the biggest Harappan city. So Rakhigarhi is spread over an area of more than 500 hectares. But unfortunately, only a small fragment of the site, maybe 60 hectare site is protected, preserved, whereas the remaining part of the site, nearly 400 hectare, has been 500 hectare, in fact, has been destroyed by the people due to development, due to agricultural activities. This has happened in the Indian subcontinent. Now it's quite clear. Now it originates in the foothills of the Himalayas, in the Shivalik hills, and then of course flows through Punjab, crisscrosses the entire Haryana, then parts of Rajasthan. Then it goes to Pakistan, and from Pakistan it comes down, in Kutch part of Gujarat and meet the sea there. And this is the earliest evidence of any kind of systematic burials in the Indian subcontinent, dated back to 7000 BC. So these burials are found within the habitation, either below the living floor or in the courtyard. Then, as I mentioned, that right from the beginning, they had contact with different regions. We have some shells here, the artifacts made of some shells. And scientific study of these shells indicate that these shells have come from Karachi coast, and Karachi coast is roughly 800 kilometers away from Mehergarh. So, they started developing this long distance trade. And also we have some material from Oman, which is nearly almost 2000 kilometers away from Mehergarh. So we have some pearl, mother of pearl, in fact, from Oman found at Mehergarh. So that indicates that people have also crossed the sea and developed contact with other nations. The part of the site which is which is intact and rather undisturbed, which is also protected by the Archaeological Survey of India as a national monument. Now we can see that it is not a small, of course, nearly 50 hectare area is still preserved, in fact, well protected. And there is so much scope for further research here. So this is a part of the site which is protected. Also, this is also part of the site which is protected. We have studied the development in the ceramic. This is the ceramic found in the early levels, which is coarse and handmade. And gradually the pottery starts becoming in the ascending order, refining. This is in the middle phase, and finally it becomes a classical Harappan pottery. So there's a gradual growth in the ceramic technology also used by the Harappans. Then, the next objective of ours was to understand who are the people, because no efforts were made in this particular respect to understand the history of the people. So for the first time, efforts were made. And if you want to understand, about the people, you need to get DNA, because that is the most authentic evidence by which one can understand the genetic history of the people. So our efforts were in fact to extract DNA. Unfortunately, the Harappans used to bury the dead bodies, the evidence we have in the earliest levels of Mehrgarh. So same tradition has continued. The only difference that now Mehrgarh people in the early levels, they buried the dead bodies within the settlement where they were living. But the Harappans, they had the separate cemetery, separate graveyard. So that was roughly 1 kilometer away from the settlement. So we discovered the Harappan cemetery and we started excavation. And the other data that is required is the inner anatomy. So that data also was created by doing this CT scanning of the skeletal remains. So this important data that we produce, that was fed in the computer, and the computer has started generating step by step the gradual 3D face of the Harappan people. So from maybe a skull, reconstructing the skull, then putting flesh on that, blood and skin finally. And this is how finally the Harappan boy looked like. And you can see its modern counterpart in Haryana, and the Harappan woman and its modern counterpart. So they look same in fact. So from this evidence, from archaeological evidence, genetic evidence, and craniofacial evidence, it is quite clear that now there is a continuity from beginning till the end. So for last 10,000 years, there is no change in the genetic history of the people, nor in the cultural history of the people, nor in the complexion history of the people. So there's so much continuity in that. So this is the part of the cemetery. Fortunately, the cemetery was in the in the middle of the standing crop, so it was not visible from outside. So we wanted prevent people coming to the excursion, because our DNA can be so sensitive. The modern DNA can get into ancient DNA easily. So we wanted to take proper precaution for that. So this is the kind of precaution that was suggested to us, and this is what we followed. In fact, what you are seeing in fact, like Corona, during Corona time, we took precaution. So exactly same, the PPE kits were used for the excavation. We use masks and hand gloves, so that that our DNA does not get into ancient DNA. So this is what we did. Then first study that we undertook was the anthropological examination. We did all this, maybe measurements of the bone, and the facial anatomical features were identified. So that was, then we also did CT scanning, and this CT scanning is done for craniofacial reconstruction or 3D reconstruction of the human face. So that data was used for this purpose. Then we also did the paleoparasitology, the parasitology that I was talking. We tried that also. We did sampling for that also, but we could not succeed. And then, of course, sampling was done for ancient DNA analysis that we have done, and also we did various other scientific analysis like stable isotope, then starch grain analysis, residue analysis, lipid profile analysis, strontium analysis. So this is very, very important to understand the diet of the people, the maybe health of the people. So all the aspects could be reconstructed by applying these scientific methods, and we have succeeded in understanding many features. So what is the brief of this research? What is the brief results of this research? So now it has become clear that around 10,000 BCE, maybe around 12,000 years ago, the hunter-gatherers, because 12,000 years ago, people were in hunting stage. So the hunter-gatherers, maybe somewhere in Afghanistan, Iran border, they broke into two groups. One group came to South Asia. This is the group we know which came to South Asia. And the other group went to Iran and further to Anatolia. And they got mixed up with the Anatolian farmers, and they have the mixed genetic history here. But the one who came to South Asia, they had a very distinct, they were generating or developing its own genetic history. So here, you can see what what happens in fact, around 12,000 years ago, when the people came here, they developed a very distinct, South Asian ancestry here. And this ancestry does not have the base is of course common base for the Iranian, early, the travelers there, and the group came here. Both of them split from one group. So naturally they had the very one common root. But when they split, then there is a more mixing in fact in Iran. There is no mixing in South Asia. So South Asian history was becoming a very distinct genetic history. So that is what happened in fact in this part. Indian subcontinent, in fact, it began to spread to Central Asia slowly, and we found that the Harappan people first began to go out, and then people from that region began to come in. That is why after 2000 BC we find more people coming from that part. But that is not the migration of the people, but that is the movement of the people, what we say. So that was happening in fact in this part. These samples of the modern population of almost the entire South Asia. So we chose nearly 140 different groups in South Asia. They include people of different religion, class, and creed. And from Afghanistan to almost from Afghanistan to northeast India, and from Andaman to Kashmir. So we collected samples from these regions, and we analyzed nearly 3,500 samples. And what we noticed, interestingly, that in majority of the population from Bengal to Afghanistan, and from Andaman Nicobar to maybe Kashmir and Ladakh, in all this population, in fact, we find a very strong presence of Harappan genes. So that means all of us in South Asia, we are the descendants of the Harappans. So this the Dravidian and North maybe Aryans, that divide was never existing in this country, nor it is existing even today. That was just created a myth by the Britishers. The research that we did, that was identified as one of the 9 breakthrough researches in 2019. 9 breakthrough researches in the world. So Rakhigarhi research was one of them.
As we interpret the implications of these findings, we are reminded that history is a living entity, continually shaped by the interplay of the past and the present. May our exploration of Rakhigarhi's genetic legacy serve as a bridge between the past and the future, fostering a deeper appreciation for the intricate threads that weave the fabric of human history.